Mystery guest from Australia. Let's talk about that. Let's get cracking. Most of you probably already know this by now, but the mystery guest is my very first viewer to write me a letter from Australia, Alan, the wheat farmer. I've shot a couple of videos about him over the years, and he comes to the U.S. This is his 17th visit to the U.S., and he's touring all across America as well as Canada. He had just finished his leg across Canada, and he dipped into the United States through Niagara Falls, just at New York border, and I reached out to Spider Wayne while he was waiting for his bus to get down to Virginia, and as luck would have it, Spider Wayne buzzed out to greet him and take him out to Tim Hortons for a bite to eat before he gets socked on the bus. He left at 5 p.m. and got to Virginia at 10 a.m. the next morning. It was a rather rough bus ride, but I'll let him tell you about that. Here's some very quick footage of me picking him up at the bus station, and he's absolutely exhausted, so we're going to get him home, get him a plate full of food, and let him decompress and take a nap or get to bed early. Welcome to Virginia. Welcome to Virginia. Come on. So Alan got showered and cleaned up, and we had a nice spread for dinner for him that night. We had some king crab legs and accoutrements to go with it, and I hope he enjoyed the supper. Said he hadn't had those type of crab legs in decades, so hopefully that was a treat for him. We went out to dinner also the following day. One of our neighbors came and joined us for supper over at 𝕼𝕼𝕜𝕜's. We only have a couple of restaurants around where we live. We're rather isolated. Barbara was so kind to invite all of us on her boat to take us out to lunch on the lake. There's a couple of restaurants on the lake that you can motor to on your boat and tie up and go grab a bite to eat. Alan hadn't been on a boat in 45 years, I believe he said. He's not a fan of riding on boats, and I asked him why. And he said, because of the creatures underneath the boat that can eat me. So I think he's referring to ocean-going vessels. There's nothing here in the lake that will eat you, but there's a lot in there that will sting and bite you and put the hurt on you. What do you think of your Captain Barbara?
Oh, she's a darling.
She's a what?
So anyway.
She's a darling. Starting with a D. Capital D. Darling.
Darling. Darling.
Yes.
Thank you. I think that's a compliment.
It is.
I assume that's a compliment.
Expressions right there.
You bet it's a compliment. Steve ahead here. Look at behind.
Look at the fish tail. Anyway, so this woman.
So we had an amazing lunch over at the Cove. Alan was so amped up after that boat ride between Barbara and she has a speedboat with a V8 in it that absolutely roared. That thing blasted across the lake, and here's this gal just handling it like a champ. It was unbelievable. So it was a sight to behold as Alan was taking this all in.
Eric, I've got to get a shot.
Jump on in there.
Well,
I live here. You're visiting.
here's that motor. I'm going to have a look at that motor.
So we got back from the boat ride, and after that, we were going to take him over to meet some very good friends of ours, Joe and Kelly. We met up with Joe and Kelly and had a quick drink and some finger food, and I was excited to take him out in Joe's garage and share some of the projects he's working on. His speedboat that did over 100 miles per hour. So you'll get a chance to hear him fire that bad boy up in his garage.
Okay. You ready? Yeah, yeah.
Joe and Alan hit it off really well, as Alan loves to wrench on things in his garage and resurrect old vehicles, things like that, and that's right up Joe's alley as well. They spoke a lot about the lift that Joe had installed in his garage because Alan just recently had one installed in one of his. It was a very good time, and thank you, Joe and Kelly, so much. We appreciate your hospitality on letting us come by for a visit. Next up, the infamous steak. When I first read that letter, way back when I started my channel to share with my viewers. I said, Alan, if you ever make it to the U.S., I'll have a thick steak ready for you and a beverage of your choice. The beverage of his choice was chocolate milk, so or Choco is the brand that he drinks in Australia. So we had to settle for a case of Nestle's Quick that he made short work of. And here's a quick picture of the steak as promised as we were grilling. We gave Alan a tour of 𝕤𝕤𝕚𝕜, and above my fireplace is one of my black powder rifles. It's a flintlock that my father made. My father handmade it from the ground up, carved the stock, inlaid the silver, did the scrolling on the silver. It's absolutely a stunning rifle in fiddleback maple. Alan was so taken by that rifle, and down in my saloon, yes, I have a saloon in my house where everybody hangs out, and Mrs. Kraken hosts her card parties and things like that. And I have a coonskin cap. Well, Alan wanted to get a picture holding that rifle with the coonskin cap, so I was happy to oblige that. And quote unquote, his words were, "Eat your heart out, Daniel Boone." I know this video is getting kind of long, but here's a 10-minute, what the Australians call a chin wag. And a chin wag is where you sit down and chat for a while. We just had two guys in a garage talking about motorcycles, what we love. He shares his insights on his journey on two wheels. I hope you enjoy the next 10 minutes or so. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time with Alan and talk about his journey that he's traveling across America as well as Canada. And this is just one leg of his journey. Where have you gone on your trip so far before you came here?
Well, it's been pretty hectic. I started in Portland, drove right across to Kansas City with a good friend from LA that I've known for 36 years. And then we parted company. He had to go back to work in LA, so then I decided to take the Amtrak up to Detroit via Chicago and spent a number of days in Detroit, visited the Ford factory, and then from there I hightailed it to Canada.
You went up through I can't think of it. I've been through that corridor. You go drive over a bridge and you're in Canada.
Yeah, I've actually crossed over at Windsor.
Windsor, thank you.
Into Canada, went through customs. I got the thumbs up. They thought I was a pretty honest fella. So I was on my way. Then I went to London, and my good friends from Walton, Ontario, picked me up, took me to their farm, spent 5 days there combining soybeans and rolling fields for their wheat.
You know, Mrs. Kraken and I are blessed that you took the time out of your life to come all the way down here. Alan had a terrible bus ride from New York. He crossed over at Niagara Falls.
Yes, from Niagara Falls we went Buffalo, and then on to New York. What a damn show that was! Swearing by a lady that I just never thought ladies could swear that much. Eric, I tell you what, it was an eye opener. Well, we get that in Australia, but not in the US. I thought they were pretty refined ladies.
As you laugh when I say this, welcome to America.
Yeah, big time, I can tell you that. Yeah, it opened my eyes.
Here in Virginia, your leg of this trip, you've been with us for a couple of days now. We've gotten a lot done. And the first day, how did you enjoy your visit at Stonewall Harley-Davidson and meeting my girl, Kim, the parts girl, and Robert from service? Those two always take care of me.
Oh, that was an excellent dealership. Bumped into the manager. And he showed us around, and Kim, she's top notch. I'd say she's one of the best parts ladies in the country. And from then on, it was just full steam ahead, wasn't it?
It was. And then as soon as we got home from that, one of our neighbors offered to take us out for lunch on her boat. Barbara took us out on the boat. What did you think of her boat ride?
Well, I thought that was pretty special because it was full steam ahead, flat out in other words, 50 miles an hour. This lass knew what she was doing.
She did. This tiny old gal, and she was handling that boat like a seasoned sea captain. It was amazing.
Don't forget, it had a thumping V8 in it.
It had
plenty of horsepower.
That's true.
Give it curry.
We had a nice lunch over at the Cove.
Yes.
And then came back that evening. What did we do that night? Then we went to Joe and
Oh,
Kelly's?
Yes, the House of Dogs.
In the House of Dogs.
There was only about 12
People
in
don't
the
know. Kelly house sits dogs when people go on vacation, and she was a bit overloaded. There was an absolute herd in there.
The herd's an understatement. I thought there was 9, but there could have been more in the back room.
I don't know. It seemed like more. But then we got to go into Joe's garage. Joe, I've introduced on my channel before. He's the only other wrench I know here on the lake that enjoys wrenching on machines. And he got to see all the projects that Joe is working on. His speedboat.
Well, that had a thumping V8 in too. He gave that the herbs and did that shake the building.
700 horsepower. My ears are still ringing.
Yeah, just as well I had ear plugs in, or else my ears would have been shattered.
Joe's a really good guy, and
I believe
that was very kind of him to show you his kit car, plus his lift he installed.
Yeah, 4-post car hoist. That's the ultimate.
Yeah.
In the Rolls Royce league.
Yeah, I don't know enough about lifts. I can't answer that, but
That's the truth.
And then today we went and saw the beekeeper.
Yes, she was a lovely lady.
Yeah,
That was Deborah,
Deborah.
the bee lady from these parts. She knew what she was talking about. There's no mixing words with her.
Nope. She's one I wouldn't tangle with. I'm telling you that right now.
I tell you what, she'd set those dogs on us.
Never before did I think I would be going to visit a beehive with an Australian when I started my YouTube channel.
This fella's got a lot to learn in this world. Bees are #1, champ. Just remember that.
I will.
When I come back next year, I want about half a dozen hives in your log cabin.
No, there'll be no hives. I break out in hives when you come to visit. That's enough. That's kind of what Alan has done on his agenda while he was here visiting Casa de Redneck. Let's talk about your motorcycles and how we met and whatever. We met on YouTube because you ride the same bike I did at the time. And tell us about your bikes.
Well, I've got 2 Dyna Y-Glides. I've got my 98 Dyna Y-Glide that I bought on the 6th of February 1998, and that's my bike that I ride. And it's a beautiful bike. I've only done 20,000 kilometres on it. As you can see, it's in absolute mint condition.
Right.
And the second one is the 100th anniversary, silver and black. I've got it on a polished stainless pedestal, and I've kept the original box, 0.3 of a kilometre on the clock. I'm hoping Willie G. Davidson might come and buy it off me as a collector's item. Eric, is that a possibility?
Willie G's getting old. I don't know, man. He doesn't have a whole lot run left in his life, so if he's going to pony up some money for your brand new 2003 Harley Davidson anniversary wide glide, he's going to have to get on it here shortly.
Well, I reckon there's every chance. If he knows how well that's looked with the original box,
yep.
What more could you want?
That's it.
That adds to the cost, of course, with the box.
Absolutely.
So that's the story.
You're not selling that even to Willie G. So
No,
stop.
I'm just winding you up a bit, Eric, to see what your views are on it.
I have a theoretical question for you. Harley Davidson dropped the wide glide.
Yeah, well, actually, that happened in 2008 after the 105th anniversary that they put out.
Right.
They dropped it for a number of years, and then they reintroduced it. Well, they made a bloody hack of it when they redesigned it. They did away with the ape hangers. The step seat went out the window. What's the point of that?
They got rid of that that tail that kind of kicks up.
Yeah,
and put a rounded fender.
Yeah, that
on.
just ruined the whole bloody concept. I don't know what
you're
the
talking
bloody,
about the one I owned. You're insulting it.
Yeah, sorry, champ, but just just doesn't.
You want some of that Virginia lovin'?
This is starting to get serious.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you the truth. This is a genuine thing. The Dyna Y-Glide, step seat, raised handlebars.
It is.
Wind in your face.
If Harley Davidson re-released the wide glide on their new chassis, would you take a look at it?
I'd have a look at it. If the price was right, I could even buy another one.
All right.
If the colour was right, the colour's a pretty important thing.
Well, I'm sure. I don't know if they will. My sneaking suspicion is I think Harley will dust off the wide glide again for another run.
Well, I think they've got to. If they want to get up in sales and reboot their bloody company, they've got to do things like that for the old timers.
Right.
Let the young fellas have a go at these bikes. None of these bloody street racers. Who wants them? You want these so you can cruise down the highway.
Yeah.
Make a bit of noise, forget that live wire. That was a disaster, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I don't know why they came down that path. I was actually in Milwaukee at the museum when they released it. I told one of their so-called engineers that's going to be a failure because it hasn't got the bloody grunt.
Yeah.
That's what you want, and the note.
Yeah.
That's what goes with Harleys, isn't it?
It is. It is.
They just want to get someone like me to come on board and straighten things out.
When you think about it, Harley's been in business, since 1903, so that's 121 years.
That's a hell of a long time. That's a bloody good...
45 years of that I've been buying their product.
Yeah, that's a hell of a bloody...
That's a third of their total existence.
Yeah.
My God, I'm old. I'm done.
They ought to listen to blokes like you. You'd
Well,
put them right.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh,
but,
come on. I'm pumping you up here, mate.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And
That's the truth.
tell me about your favorite ride of all time.
Oh, gee, that was a number of years ago when I rode this beautiful machine back from Perth, 280 kilometres. I could have gone another 1,000 kilometres on this Freedom machine. That's what I call it, and it wouldn't have even been worn out.
Okay.
Me, myself, I wouldn't have worn this machine out. They last forever. Look at how good that is.
That's good. It looks amazing.
You bet it is. Just a bit of pride, look after it. You can't fault it.
That's one thing I get distressed over is when people don't take care of their bikes.
Oh, you don't
My
deserve
bikes
one.
look like they came off the showroom. That one's 10 years old, etc. It drives me bananas that people don't spend that kind of money and don't take care of them.
Well, I look at it this way. If you buy a brand new Harley or any bike for that example, and it's got bloody mud and stuff on it, you jump up and down. But as soon as they get it, they ride it in the bush and get dirt on it and just leave it.
I know.
Just out the window.
Well, a fool and his money shall soon part.
Yeah, that's for sure.
How many years have you been riding?
Well, it goes back, I think I started about when I was 7. I didn't have a Harley in those days. We were peasants.
Right.
It was just a damn old Honda that's not worth a cracker, and then progressed from there.
Okay.
Just as I got older, the bikes got bigger until I got into the Freedom machines.
Okay. All right.
The Dyna Y glides. What a machine. You just can't get sick of looking at that.
That's me, but we're old. And
That
like I
doesn't
told
matter.
you, young people don't like that.
Well, they would have changed their tune, mate.
All right.
Because that's the
We
ultimate.
need to round up those young folks and throw them a beating and get them to understand that the wide glide is where it's at.
You bet it is. There's no disputing that. But what about the Fat Boy? That's still on the scene. That goes back to 1990, doesn't it?
That does.
And that's still pretty popular.
I don't know if it's still popular.
Oh, I believe it is.
I don't know. Well,
you're in that game.
I'm still surprised that it's still on showrooms.
Yeah, well, you are.
Yeah.
Oh, they're top-notch stuff,
Because I
mate.
never see any on the road.
Oh, they're probably hibernating.
How Alan and I met, for those who haven't been long-term viewers of this channel, and when I first started my channel, Alan is up on my wall of shame over there. I have the very first letter I ever got in the mail, and he mailed me a cap from Australia. I should be wearing it now.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you, matey.
I know.
Yeah, I've got mine on, haven't I?
You do, but I didn't want us to look like twins. They made mistake me from being from Oz, all right? But anyway, we stayed in touch ever since, and 4 years later, I'm blessed to have this man come visit us from half a planet away, and we have enjoyed his company immensely. He's heading on his next leg of his journey. That's his story to tell if he wants to share it with somebody, but he's heading back, and then in about 10 days, you're going to be heading home?
Actually, a bit more than that. It's 16 days.
Yeah.
Back to Perth.
Okay.
Western Australia.
Okay.
And then to Wubin. You've been there, Eric.
I have.
You and your lovely wife, Lisa. I think you enjoyed your travels up to the farm.
I did. I had a
See
great
how
time.
things tick.
And I like you. I like meeting people, and I like to see how they live their lives.
For sure. I'm the same.
And what I think, and I narrow focus on here, has nothing to do with somebody else somewhere else in the world. I find that very cool.
For sure. Well, on that note, I think we're going to have that steak that I've been promised 4 years ago. Is that still on the cards,
That's still
Eric?
on the cards. We're going to barbecue him his steak.
Waited
And
4
I'll
years.
snap a picture of that when I get that steak in front of them, just for credibility, to make sure people know I stand up behind what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the proof in the pudding if I get this darn steak. Well done.
Well, I think that we're going to wrap that up, and we look forward to seeing Al in the future. He promises to be back for another visit.
Yeah, next year at this stage.
Thank you so much for blessing us and enjoying, coming and hanging out. We've enjoyed your company immensely.
Thanks very much. It's been an absolute highlight of my trip. And put it there, champ.
Cheers. So that about sums up Alan's visit to Casa de Redneck here in Virginia. He's a fascinating man, an absolute joy to be around. He's such a kind individual. If you meet him, you're going to immediately fall in love with this guy. I hope, Alan, you had a very good trip here to Virginia, at least on this leg of your trip. Mrs. Kraken and I did our best to make sure you had a good time and good experience coming to America. And thank you for joining us. We are blessed for you being in our life. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more in the future, hit that subscribe button right down there in the corner. And remember, folks, go ride it because it's good for you. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.